You will be shocked to realize what's going on here with your tax money.
I've heard some concerns that this is showing basically a troubling lack of transparency around our fiscal picture right now. We still haven't seen the fiscal update. So I'm wondering, what is your response to those concerns that MPs are voting on new spending and they don't even know the audited financial picture from the last fiscal year at this point?
There is a conservative filibuster of the House that does create challenges when it comes to moving forward with formal House business.
Right, but it's no problem banning guns and trying to hand out checks for everybody except for the poor people. No problems doing that, but when it comes to our financial situation as a country and our taxpayers' money from our pockets, the filibuster is the problem.
The opposition leader has offered the finance minister 2 hours to present the fall economic statement on Monday. The minister's response was to reject the offer to provide an update that would take no more than a minute. It's absurd that Canadians are in the dark about how dire the fiscal situation is in this country.
But I thought she said it was the filibuster. Pierre's clearly going to open up the floor for her to speak. He gave her a time and gave her a place. It's not the filibuster, it's her.
The Conservative proposal is utterly absurd.
Okay, so let's hear a couple of our MPs lie to you. Here goes Rachel again.
We have the lowest deficit of all of our G7 peers. We also have the lowest debt to GDP ratio. And it will be our pleasure to present a fall economic statement so that all Canadians can see what the books look like, include the Conservative Party.
Well, you take the lie from this hand and you take the lie from this hand and you put together and you go, bullshit.
The Parliamentary Budget Officer now predicts that our deficit is $6.8 billion more than the $40 billion the Finance Minister promised.
Interesting to see that statistic when the next guy is going to look you right in the eye and go,
what my honourable colleague fails to point out is that Canada is projected to have the fastest growing economy in the G7 next year. He fails to point out that we are creating jobs at a near record pace. He doesn't understand that wages are increasing faster than inflation.
Bullshit. All right, let's go see a couple more statistics here and see what he's talking about.
Canada is already struggling with a failing economy, and it could get significantly worse. Some key indicators the Liberals have bragged about as proof they are succeeding are beginning to fall apart.
Well, I appreciate you mentioning, but I would say this is a much longer process that's been going on than just we're starting to realize now.
The past governor says we're in a recession. The current Deputy Governor of the bank says it's an emergency. So when will the government start listening to the experts and understand that its policies on its budgets, its spending, and its deficits, whatever the number is, have caused a recession and an economic emergency?
Well, that's pretty harsh. But we have to go back to Rachel to see how Rachel feels about this. Watch.
I have to say, I am quite disappointed in the Conservative member opposite. He should know what the definition of a recession is. We haven't even had a single quarter of negative growth. In fact, Statistics Canada has just revised our growth numbers upwards for the last 3 years.
I can't believe how much this lady lies right to my face. How much are they paying these people? Is she bribed? Is she just takes the money? Who pays these people off?
This Liberal NDP Prime Minister has zero credibility. He promised that the budget would balance itself. His Finance Minister promised that the 2023 deficit would not exceed $40 billion. Now, the Parliamentary Budget Officer has told us that this Liberal government has shattered through their $40 billion deficit promise by $7 billion. So I have one question for the Prime Minister. What is the deficit?
And on that note, I gotta go. But I'm gonna leave you with one more rich Liberal talking head in the House that's just gonna blow your mind. Watch.
What we hear on the other side of the House is not resonating with Canadians.